Alrighty, we're down to 2 left. So, 2 to go. Then the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand toward the sky so that darkness will spread over Egypt. Now, it's interesting, this time he didn't say, like, go to Pharaoh and tell him this is what's going to happen if you don't do it. He just, did it. So the Lord said to Moses, stretch out your hand over the sky, toward the sky, so that darkness will spread over Egypt. Darkness that can be felt. Alright, now that's a plague that is different than just darkness. There's darkness when you go to sleep, right? And there's a dark, scary alley where you're terrified because you can tell that it's not just dark, but it's also bad. Like badness in the air around you. Like fear around you. Like evil, like a presence. Alright, so you understand the difference? Like there's just dark, turn the light off, dark, and then there's dark, like a dark person, or I guess y'all understand what I'm saying. Anyways, so Moses stretched out his hand toward the sky, and total darkness covered all of Egypt for 3 days. Okay, so I'm imagining a darkness that you could feel would include some fear. So for 3 days, they can't see a thing. They're absolute darkness for 3 whole days. Now just imagine, like when the electricity goes off at the house and there's no TV and no lights. What a drastic change that is. It's just really weird. It's kind of cool for about 30 minutes, but then it just gets weird because there's no noise and there's no light. Imagine that for 3 solid days. All right, and this is how bad it was. It says no one could see anyone else or leave his place for 3 days. You couldn't even leave your house because you were scared too. And there was absolute darkness everywhere. Except, yet all the Israelites had light in the places where they lived. So absolute darkness all over Egypt, except for only in the one little part. Now, when the sun rises, in the east, 600,000 million miles away, it just starts to come over all over the earth. It makes me light, and it makes all the United States light all at the same time. And God made it to where it was light just in this one little town of Goshen. This little beam of light that just, came down from heaven and just made the one city light, and it was absolutely dark all the way around it. So, since Jesus is the light of the world, I guess he can do whatever he wants to with light, since he is light. Then Pharaoh summoned Moses and said, go worship the Lord, even your women and children may go with you. He was really changing his tune. Remember earlier he said just the men can go, and now he's like, everybody can go. Everybody can go, but then he makes this one little exception at the very end of this. He says, only leave your flocks and your herds behind. Okay? Now, this makes a lot of sense to me because there's no food at all in all of Egypt. There's nothing green. All the plants are dead. All their animals are dead. The only food source they have in all of Egypt are the Israelites' animals, because God made a difference, a distinction, and all their animals are alive. So he's like, you can go, but you need to leave all the food, because that's all the food we have in the entire land, right? He didn't say it exactly that way, but I'm guessing that's what he meant. But Moses said, you must allow us to have sacrifices and burnt offerings to present to the Lord. Our livestock too must go with us. Not a hoof is to be left behind, because we don't know what we're supposed to sacrifice when we get there. The Lord hardened Pharaoh's heart, and he was not willing to let them go. And then Pharaoh, this is kind of like famous last words, Pharaoh said to Moses, "Get out of my sight!" Exclamation point. So I'm imagining he might have screamed it. "Get out of my sight!" Probably really angry. "Make sure you do not appear before me again!" Exclamation point. Probably still yelling and screaming. "The day you see my face, you will die." He's just fed up. He's headed up to here. He doesn't want to ever see Moses ever again. And Moses said, "Just as you say, I will never appear before you again." Right? So it's like, can you hear we're getting to the very, very end of this. Is the climax of the story is getting worse and worse and worse. And now Moses and Pharaoh, they're never going to meet again. It's coming to an end. And tomorrow we will do the final and last plague.